welcome to Let's Examine Addiction Honestly podcast. My name is Charles. Today we will actually be going over parenting and addiction. This is actually a big topic for me because of being both a foster parent and a child of an addict. My dad was an alcoholic my entire childhood, so I'm going to go over why that's something I always aim to avoid, why I put the kids before alcohol and always have and always will, even before I had any kids in my care, and just this topic in general. I hope you stick around to listen. And as always, please understand that I'm not a trained professional and do not use this podcast as an alternative to proven medical methods such as AA, NA, therapy, rehab, etc. Take my advice with a grain of salt, grain of sand, whatever the saying is. But understand that I'm just here to relate to people, kind of get my story out, and learn about addiction in general, honestly. But for this topic, it is kind of a big one. I think I've mentioned it before. One of my earliest childhood memories were police lights outside of the house because my dad would get drunk, punch out his car windows. Lots of fun stuff like that. There's so many stories. I actually have an episode that I'm going to do dedicated to all his stories. He's legally blind. There's one where he drove a car up a tree, ended up bleeding heavily, getting back to his friend's house. It looked like there was like a bloody animal running around the house, essentially. He's been a very chaotic person, very loving. I will never talk badly about how he treated us. Like, he never hit us, never really degraded us. Wasn't the nicest sometimes. Would call you a pansy. I got called a pansy for wanting Tylenol because I had a headache one night. But that's just kind of the way he is. He's always been a little rough around the edges, but always been an absolutely amazing father. So I do definitely try to take some of my tendencies from him. I try to avoid the drinking, obviously. I always have, especially when it comes to kids. I've never really drank too heavily around kids, especially my brothers. There are times when, regrettably, I would skip some events due to hangovers, but I would never put their lives in jeopardy. I would not get behind the wheel if I was drinking. I always had a place to go when I was drinking. That's why when I do my episode about my DUI, that whole night to me is so surreal, I guess, just because none of it makes sense as to what I would normally do. And honestly, it probably was mixing the medication to quit drinking with drinking. But I'm not here to make excuses. I did what I did, and I just got to learn and move on from it. But I think one of the biggest things for parenting and addiction is ensuring the kids are always well taken care of. You're not putting them second to addiction, alcohol. I've seen friends do it. One of my best friends, his sister is heavy into heroin addiction right now. Her poor kids have seen everything. They've seen her sell her body for money to feed the addiction. They've gone without food, necessities. They've gone through so much. We actually provide a phone so that the oldest daughter of the three actually can contact her grandparents, can contact us when needed. So if we have to, we can send her money for food, toiletries. There's been a time where they were living in a camper on state ground, no running water, no electricity. Half of the roof was caving in from rot. And I'll do an episode too about CPS reports. My wife's a teacher, so she has to report stuff like that. Unfortunately, nothing's ever been done about it. It's essentially just her taking screenshots of the texts she gets from the family members and sending it to the state. Because every time she does report it, CPS will go out and the family will stick up for her. Which, if I ever get the chance, I'm going to become a politician and make that illegal. That makes me so mad. Why would you say all these things about your sister or daughter and how badly she's treating her kids, but then defend her when somebody who actually can make a difference steps in? Honestly, it makes no sense to me at all, just because the state doesn't always take children anyways, and they shouldn't. They should work with families, but when it's been five, well, we originally got licensed to be foster parents because of her addiction. So it's been at least 4 years of constant reports, and probably 5 or 6, because I think we were having to report even earlier than that. So it's just been an absolute drag to, and I really don't even know how to quantify my disappointment. Not in the system, because the system's doing what it's supposed to, but people standing up for somebody who is in the throes of addiction and jeopardizing the safety of 3 kids just because it's family. I would do anything for my nephews, even those kids. Those kids aren't technically family, and still try to ensure we have everything set up in case they do come into care. Yet this family wants to tell us about it and then also hide it from the state, the people who could actually do something. So, addiction's a hard one. I know some of the kids we've got right now, and this is more of a all the stuff I'm going over right now is essentially for better for my other podcast about parenting, but even most of the kids we've had, their parents have been fighting addiction. And it's sad to see because the kids pay so much. That's why I try to do everything I can to do as much with the kids as possible. Flipping around my schedule. My schedule's been garbage the last few weeks. I haven't even really had time to drink even when I wanted to. There was one night where I wanted to have a Moscow Mule and ended up falling asleep halfway through it, which is completely out of the ordinary for me. But it's honestly a good sign. My drinking's been way down since I started this podcast. I've been reading books on parenting, trying to just use that time that in my 20s would have been spent drinking to better myself and be a better parent and caregiver for them, and trying to provide, the stability and extra, not really resources, but experiences that they normally wouldn't have. We are going to a buddy's in Detroit at the end of February, and I have been recording these and I'm trying to get ahead so that it'll be a little bit easier for me to become more comfortable in doing these and stay on track. My consistency's been spotty, and I apologize. I've just been so self-conscious about recording this, and the topics I go over are pretty heavy, and I don't ever want the kids to hear, but as you can see, I have noise blankets behind me, so there's no excuse really. I want to get on these because I don't ever expect to make money off them, but I do believe a lot of the topics we go over are essential, especially with kids. The books I've been reading, technology addiction, that's one I still 100% am guilty of. I've put restrictions on my phone. And yeah, this is parenting. And so we've done that with the kid too. We have one teen who will spend all day on the phone. So we put limits on there, and he got upset about it. But the limits he has are the same that I have. I have a 2 hour. The last 2 days I've been naughty, honestly, and extended my time to 4 just because work is super slow. So I've been trying to find something to fill that void, which I'll do a podcast about technology addiction and trying to fill my time with stuff other than social media. But normally I give myself 2 hours. Once it hits that 2 hour time frame, my phone's locked. I do something else. I design vinyl decals. I do the Google Drive documents for this podcast and the other one, do research, read books. Honestly, it's been so relieving to get away from social media because it used to stress me out so much. And honestly, most of my time now is sending reels to my 2 buddies and my wife from Facebook. So I've been avoiding news. Anytime I come across political stuff on Facebook, I mark it as not interested, which I might have to do a podcast about that because I found that kind of helpful. It does seem to help my algorithm a little bit, but I see so many people, if you go into the comments on anything on social media, it's easy to get sucked in there because people just start arguing over the dumbest stuff and start like name calling for no reason. start putting each other down, especially when it comes to politics, which is why you'll never hear about it on this show. I mean, I would never defriend somebody for their political views. That's why if you come in here and your political view will never be judged, what conspiracy theories you're into, or not conspiracy theories, not all of them are. I believe a few for sure that would be considered conspiracy theories, but all of your opinions are welcome here, especially if you're respectful. That's the only thing is in this country we've forgotten to be respectful of each other and talk about differing views. I can sit with any of my friends and talk about their views or listen to whatever they believe in. It does not hurt me to listen to them. Me getting into an argument or a fist fight with them is not going to change the political structure of this country. So unless you are actually going into politics and then you want to debate me on it, all right. If you have a chance to make a change and I can talk to you and try to make my voice heard, but other than that, I respect everybody's political, religious views, all that. I'm not going to judge anybody as long as you don't hurt animals, children, your significant other innocent people. Believe whatever you want. Believe that anything, honestly. But in terms of addiction, it's just been so hard seeing everything that I have, and I've seen it honestly from alcoholism with my dad, my grandpa, and my great grandma to my buddy's sister and heroin addiction. I've seen kids that have been affected by it. And just know that no matter how bad you've been as a parent, there's probably never too late to make up. All you have to do is reach out and show that you're making change. One thing I've noticed is do not expect the forgiveness to come overnight. My dad has a friend, the one who offered me meth. I don't remember if I mentioned it on this podcast or not, but I'll go over that night at some point. And he wonders why his daughter doesn't talk to him. He spent years as an alcoholic, like my dad. He also was never really around his daughter. We went with my dad. I have a lot of good memories of my dad's alcoholism, honestly. There was a ton of stories I can go over, such as we would dig through a scrap trailer and end up finding one of those old Game Boys, the original, the big block ones, and used to play that forever. My dad or grandpa would get drunk and we'd drive them down to the store in my hometown so they could buy more booze and then drive the tractor back with them sitting in the back of it. And I mean, while those were good times, also I watched how quickly their bodies have degraded. We were supposed to go to Myrtle Beach for Father's Day this year, and my dad's eyesight and his bladder are so bad that I think he's honestly super self-conscious, and that's why he doesn't want to go, which saddens me because I was looking forward to it. I mean, it'll be a huge expense that I save, but I was looking forward to at least going and, relaxing, getting to, take him somewhere because he's always wanted to go. And it's a little disheartening, but it's understandable. He has been an alcoholic his entire life. He's in his 60s. Late 50s? I'd have to do the math. I'm not going to make you sit through that. And just seeing how alcohol's taken such a toll on his body that I don't want to go through that. And I never would want to put kids through what I went through. While I do have good memories of it, there's a lot of bad memories, sleeping in a car until like 2 a.m. till we went home on a school night because my dad was drinking. So it's one of those bittersweet things. But if you have any stories, especially about redemption, making amends with your kids, what you've done to be a better parent, what you do to stop your addiction. I know Jason Mewes has been a huge, I wouldn't say idol, but inspiration to me. Just knowing all he's gone through and how he's turned it around, and he streams and he has all these sponsors and does all this really awesome stuff, and knowing everything he's been through and listening to the podcast just has inspired me to kind of do these podcasts and get information out there. So I'd love to hear anybody's story. As always, please like, subscribe, and email me. Letsexamineaddictionhonestly at Gmail and theleahpodcast at gmail.com with any of your feedback, ideas, stories. I'd love to hear from you. And as always, as Alan Watts says, you are under no obligation to be the same person you were 5 minutes ago. Have a wonderful rest of your week. Bye.